So much for those words of faith and being able to control the weather. You remember the account in Luke's gospel of the angel Gabriel giving the announcement to Elizabeth and her husband Zechariah. Remember this, that they would have a baby? But they were older, right? They were past those childbearing years, well past those years. And so when Zechariah heard about this, he questioned it, right? He kind of pushed back on that a little bit. What did God do in response to Zechariah's questioning? What did God do? Closed his mouth, right? Made him a mute. For a very interesting take on why God closed Zechariah's mouth, this from Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen said, why did God take away his speech? It's because God knew that Zechariah's negative words would cancel out his plan. See, God knows the power of our words. He knows that we prophesy our future, and he knew Zechariah's own negative words would stop his plan. Wow. So according to Joel Osteen, God was up in heaven looking down, and he saw Zechariah making negative confessions, and God just went into a panic. Oh my goodness, what am I ever going to do? I wasn't counting on this. And so in a last-ditch effort to save his plan of redemption, God had to reach down and close Zechariah's mouth and make him a mute. Whew, boy, that was a close one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The faith preachers have a very low view of God. Elevated view of man, low view of God. Brings us to our next doctrine, the little God's doctrine. The faith preachers teach that if you are a Christian, you are in fact a little God. Watch this from Creflo Dollar.
Now, in verse 26 and verse 27, God now submits himself to this principle of everything producing after its own kind. And in verse 26 and 27, let's read it out loud. Ready? Read. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Now that's interesting, because if everything produces after its own kind, we now see God producing man. And if God now produces man, and everything produces after its own kind, if horses get together, they produce what? And if dogs get together, they produce what? If cats get together, they produce what? But if the Godhead gets together and say, let us make man, then what are they producing? They're producing gods. Now, I got to hit this thing real hard in the very beginning, because I ain't got time to go through all this. But I'm going to say to you right now, you are gods, little g. You are gods because you came from God, and you are gods. You're not just human. The only human part about you is this physical body that you live in. The real me is just like God.
The real me is just like God. Blasphemy. Blasphemy. Dear friends, when the Bible says that God created us in his image, that means that as human beings, you and I are the pinnacle of his creation. We are the pinnacle of his creation. And we have the potential, we have the capacity through a saving relationship with Jesus Christ to know God. None of the other created order has that privilege and ability. I like dogs. I do. I like dogs. I grew up with dogs, mostly black labs. After Kathy and I got married, she didn't want a dog at all. I wanted a big dog. And so she compromised and she got me what is still technically a dog, but It's a little frou-frou dog, you know, a little 10-pound Maltese, you know, little bow in her hair, and she's just adorable. But you know, I mean, any man can have a big old lab or a German Shepherd. It takes a real man who is secure in his manhood to have a dog like my dog. So, and her name is Mia. And you know what? I've come to love the socks off that little dog. But Mia does not know God, will never know God, because Mia is not created in God's image. And cats for sure aren't. But just kidding. Sort of, but we are. We as humans, we have the potential, we have the capacity through a saving relationship with Jesus Christ to know God. But that does not mean that we are God's. The Bible is very clear. There is only one God, and He is a jealous God who will not share His glory with another, right? That this is not a one-off with the Word Faith Movement. I'm going to show you 2 video clips from Kenneth Copeland. One of them from the late 1980s, an old clip, and another one from 2 years ago, 2021. And I'm going to show you these 2 clips to show you and prove to you that they have been teaching this for decades and they have not repented of it. Watch. This from Kenneth Copeland, late 1980s.